When you take to the streets of Kampala and just do a random sample of why Ugandans think they pay tax, these are some of the views you might hear.
We pay tax to increase on the government revenue. Like 50%, I see what it does, 50%, I don't see what it does.
Yeah, the reason why I pay tax, one, I think to contribute on the government expenditures and to facilitate on the public services, talk about the roads, talk about hospitals, among others.
The persistent feeling, almost unsolicited, keeps popping up about how poorly taxes are used, and these lamentations are typical. But that's where any demands on the taxes paid stops.
So far right now as I speak, I don't think my tax has done anything. Because the situation where MPs are given vehicles of 200 million and above, and someone is dying in Mulago sleeping on verandas, producing on a veranda, basically why do I see value for tax?
I don't think the tax is used very well, because you see that the companies that come and try it, let's say for example our roads, they come and forge companies and they come and make poor roads, then I don't think for that I will not support it. I don't think the tax is used very well to its extent.
I support all the people to pay tax because at some point we all need it. If I'm not benefiting it today, maybe some other people will need it.
If you want to help the government to develop, then you have to also increase, like we have to pay taxes to help it increase its revenue.
There is also a degree of the civic duty in as far as tax payment is concerned. But the negative lamentations of a poor use of tax revenues shows there is concern among some of the taxpayers. That the concern does not boil down to any kind of demand for accountability reveals a scenario.
I think for me the major challenges we have in Uganda, and largely is because the tax system relies heavily a lot on indirect taxes, which I guess it's a global thing, but because particularly Uganda, indirect taxes is what really counts for as far as tax revenue is concerned. So you'll find VAT payee, rather pays direct, yes, but VAT particularly brings in quite a lot of money for the tax body. And so there is that dependence on indirect taxes. And so what we've seen in the kind of work that we do is that heavy reliance on indirect taxes means that people are not very clear that, people have this less consciousness that they actually pay tax.
Government should do the public thing. It may not come immediately as I paid my taxes, but it should be able to come back. Now, if you are not able to utilize public revenues wisely to give back the benefit that in the first place the private sector contributed those taxes for, then you are again beginning to undermine the private sector engagements and the private sector success stories, but also their expectation. People begin to become jittery. If they see that we are paying our taxes, either the thieves are taking the money or the government machinery is unable to utilize the money and give us that service.
More specifically, the work of SEATINI and Action Aid aims to get particularly that group of taxpayers who never feel the effect of tax payment.
There is a group that pays direct, that knows it, that understands it. Then there is a group that doesn't necessarily pay the payee and all those direct taxes, but they buy items, they consume certain things, they buy airtime, they consume water, they consume whatever. Now that's the group that we want to interact with on a daily basis, and we're hoping that even through media they'll understand. There is that group that knows, but there's also this other group that doesn't know, and we need to reach out to them. We need to empower them to understand that I pay this amount of money. Really, where does this money go?
When the desire to pay is affected, even those who know their rights but stop short of demanding from members of parliament and other political leaders, they will take advantage of any situation not to pay taxes.
Between me and you, you will agree that the business trends have changed over time. Long ago, we used to have people sitting in shops. Today, people may actually not sit in shops. You may find people transacting on internet, and you may find people, for example, winning tenders, and you may not easily get this one. Have you heard of Uber, for example? Uber, you just go online and the special would be there. you may not easily identify the shops because they are doing business basically online. I have seen other businessmen doing business on, say, in tourism online. So gone are the days when we actually look at shops.
There is a huge disconnect with how much we collect and how much we spend. If we are spending more than we collect, then there is a problem, because even if you did it in your own home, it wouldn't make sense. So if we're doing it as a country, then there's a problem, because I believe, I have no doubt, the money we collect as a country in revenue, non-tax, tax, should be sufficient enough to provide all the needed services that we need. We would not be depending on external sources. If we just sat down, reduced on the spending, trimmed government, public office, and see how this money is well distributed. I mean, the local governments that need the much needed resources, where the services are not getting enough.
The task to get Ugandans to demand for the veil from their taxes to enlist a better payment culture has a long way to go, and efforts of players like SEATINI and its partners must be embraced by other players for a culture change, at least for the next generation of Ugandan taxpayers.